Hi, this is Trisha from Lemon Paper Lab. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create this fun geometric pattern in Photoshop. If you're looking for more tools and resources for creating patterns in Photoshop, be sure to check out my Ultimate Pattern Maker Toolkit, which includes all of my Photoshop actions and templates, which will help improve your workflow when designing in Photoshop. To start off, let's go ahead and create a new file. For this, I'm going to use the dimensions of 7200 pixels by 7200 pixels. Resolution is going to be 300 pixels per inch, color mode RGB color, and then background content set to transparent. I'm going to go ahead and click on Create. For this, I'm going to use the help of guides. So we're going to go to View, Guides, New Guide Layout. I'm going to work with 4 columns and 4 rows, clicking on OK. So with this pattern, we are going to set up a little template for ourselves. So I'm going to access this marquee tool here, and then I am going to just create a square out of this top left corner, and then I'm just going to fill that with the foreground color. I'm going to hit D so I can get my default color of black. And to fill it with the foreground color, you're going to go Option Delete for Mac users. That would be Alt Backspace for PC, and that will just fill in those pixels. And then we are going to deselect those pixels there, Command or Control D. I'm going to go ahead and rename this layer. I like to just name it Object 1, and then I'm going to convert this into a Smart Object. I'm going to right click. We're going to go to Convert to Smart Object. And then I'm going to duplicate this and then I'm going to duplicate it and fill out our square here. So we are going to right click, duplicate layer. I'm going to get rid of the copy here. I'm just going to highlight that and copy it, Command or Control C. We'll click on OK, and then let's duplicate this again, right click, duplicate layer. I'm going to go Command V just to fill it in. I like to just make sure my layers are named well, Command or Control J, and you could always double click here and rename it here as well. So we have our top left one. I'm going to go to the second layer. Using the Move tool here, I'm going to use our Align tools. If you don't see these highlighted here, click this icon and make sure it says Align to Canvas. So we'll align it to the right. And then we'll do our next one here, and we are going to align this to the bottom, and then we've got one more to the right and to the bottom here. So we have it repeated. Let's go ahead and click into our Smart Object here. I'm going to zoom out, Command or Control with the minus key. Let's go ahead and get rid of those guides. So View Guides, Clear Guides here. And then for demonstration purposes, I'm going to create a new layer here. And then let's just use our pen tool. We select right, and then I'm just going to draw a rough line here. Let's get rid of our fill. Let's just make it have a stroke, and that will give us a sense of direction. So I'm just going to save this, Command or Control S to save it. And then we are going to go back in here. So currently they're all oriented in the same way, but what we are going to do is we are going to rotate some of these. So I am going to use my Move tool. We'll select this one here, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So we're going to go Command or Control T to access our free transform tool. And then we'll just click on the angle here, and we'll go 90 degrees. We'll click on this bottom corner. So in this case, we are going to do a full, we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. So we'll go Command or Control T. We'll type in 180 here. And then we are going to do last one here. We'll go Command or Control T. And then this time we are going to go a -90 to get it to turn the other way. And you can kind of see that like pinwheel look of our smart objects. So we'll click back into our smart objects here. This was just for demonstration, so you can delete it. We'll turn off the visibility of this object. And so now we have our blank canvas to work with here. I like working with guides, so I'm going to bring up another guide layout. I like 4 rows and 4 columns, and it just helps me divide my canvas here. Using my marquee tool, I am just going to highlight half of that space. We'll fill it with our foreground color. Option delete for Mac, that would be Alt backspace for PC. And then we can deselect those pixels, Command or Control D. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this. So let's go Command or Control S to save it. We'll jump into our template here, and then I'm going to go ahead and zoom out, Command or Control with the minus key. We can go ahead and clear those guides, View, Guides, Clear Guides, and then let's turn on our Pattern Preview tool, which is under View. We'll select our Pattern Preview, and then we can zoom out again, Command or Control with the minus, and we get this fun pattern here. To save this pattern, you go to Edit, Define Pattern. You also have the option from the Patterns panel. If you do not see your Patterns panel, go to Window, selecting Patterns here, and then from the bottom there is just this plus button, which will let you save your pattern. You have the option to give it a name, and then just clicking on OK, and we can see our newly saved pattern here. We can go ahead and turn off that view mode. And then we can zoom back in, Command or Control with the minus key. So let's go ahead and give our pattern some color. So I'm going to just create a new layer. Let's just group these ones together, Command or Control G to group it. We can turn off the visibility there. And then let's bring up a solid color adjustment layer. This is going to be our background. So let's just leave it at black for the moment. And then let's bring up a pattern fill layer. From here, you can select your patterns. I prefer just to select it from my patterns panel. So I can select my pattern there. Let's give so currently our pattern is color. So maybe we change this to a blue. We can see that there. And I'm just going to double click on this layer here. And then let's go ahead and scale it down to 25% so we can see how it repeats. And then let's give it a solid color adjustment layer. Let's just select white for the moment, FFF. And then I'm going to create a clipping mask. So let's go right click, create clipping mask. And now we have our colors that we can play with. One thing you can do with your colors is if you click on this pattern fill layer and you bring it down to 15%, you can create this kind of two-tone effect. So if I change this, it will automatically adjust that top layer to be 50% of that color value. So we can zoom in, Command and Control plus, just to see our pattern there. So once you have your pattern and you've chosen your colors, the next step would just to be save a swatch outside of Photoshop. And so I'm going to double click here. Let's just bring it back up to 100%. And then I'm going to export this file. So I like to just go to File, Save a Copy. You can give your pattern a name. I'm going to go on my computer. And then under File Format, I would select either JPEG or PNG to save out your swatch. So we'll click on Save. Under Quality, I usually just leave it at 10 for the default here, and then just clicking on OK. And so now with that file, you could upload it to a program such as Spoonflower to make your pattern available for sale as either fabric or wallpaper. And what's fun about this pattern is you can always go back into this document here. Let's go ahead and duplicate this layer, Command or Control J. We'll turn off the visibility of this one. Let's bring up our free transform tool, Command or Control T. I'm going to unclick this button because I'm going to alter it. Let's bring our height to say 25% here. I'm going to bring it to the top. Let's duplicate this, Command or Control J, bringing it down here, and then I'm going to save this, Command or Control S to save it. And then jumping into our document here, we will bring up our group. We'll group this one, Command or Control G to group it, and then we have our pattern here. Let's go ahead and save it. And then we can test it out here again. Let's bring this back to 25%. And so you can change the way your pattern looks just by working with this kind of template that we have set up using Smart Objects. I hope you liked this video as I walked you through on how to create this pattern in Photoshop. Definitely check out my Ultimate Pattern Maker Toolkit, which includes all of my Photoshop actions and templates for Photoshop. They are designed to help improve your workflow, and I'll leave a link to that toolkit in the description below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. This is Trisha from Lemon Paper Lab. See you next time.